Hello, everybody. Welcome into the cycle, part 3 of the week. I'm Ryan Wormeli, joined, as I have been all week, by Kirby. Kelly, thanks for hopping on in place of Mike Meyer, definitely upping the war on this week's show. For this week's episodes, all 3 parts of them you joined us for. We did some of your lessons learned in part 1. We went through some buys and sells and waiver pickups from you in part 2. Now we are talking some pitching streamers. The way we usually do this is Meyer kind of runs through somewhat using our FP streamer tool, which you can find at FantasyPros.com, picking some of his favorite streamers for each day of the week. Fridays are always really tough. We'll see what you came up with on Friday. For whatever reason, there's never good streamers those days. And we'll see what we think about these streamers. So we've got one for every day of the week. Kick us off with Monday of next week.
All right. So there's a theme to, doing streamers, which is find the bad teams and hit them up, no matter what the pitcher has recently been doing. So on Monday, I'm going with Meyer versus Colorado. So anytime I can get a Marlin at home, and I guess it doesn't even matter if it's Colorado's offense, even just give it to me. Meyer has been a bit of a wild card lately. He has not looked sharp.
That's putting it kindly.
Yeah, he has not looked sharp whatsoever, but I also, given what was out there on Monday, I think he was just the best option because it's the worst offense. So I'm going to take him Monday. I have him in a couple of leagues. I'm giving him one more week, basically. If he can't get through the Colorado start, I'm done. So
in his last 6 starts, his ERA on the season has gone from 2.10 to 4.53. I mean, it's just been really bad as of late for him. And I have started him in pretty much all of those starts. He has been in my rotation.
Well, you felt so good, right? And now it's just okay, well, that was a blip, and then now it's okay, is that a blip recent, or
for some of the other ones, at least he was still getting you strikeouts, but he was also giving up 5 earned runs. This week against the Padres, he had 4 earned runs allowed in just 3 1/3 innings. And no strikeouts. That was alarming.
Yeah, that was very alarming.
His second start this month with no strikeouts.
Yeah, I said something on leading off where I was just I can deal with a blow-up start here and there, but I can't abide no strikeouts.
How many pitchers in baseball in the same 6-week span have a start with 14 strikeouts and a start with 0?
If I was faster on StatHead, I would look that up, but I can't fathom that it is. I can't fathom it's many. So,
all right. So Meyer on Monday. Who you got next?
Next I've got Jobe at the White Sox. So again, Detroit Tiger. He's not been overly impressive. I was gonna look that up really quick, but he also gets the other worst team in baseball. So I think that I have no problem kind of running him out there and seeing what happens. He's got a 4.22 ERA and a 1.49 WHIP on the year, but sometimes facing the White Sox is the cure that any pitcher needs. So as far as streamers go, I think he's a good option and could possibly pick up the win, which is another thing. You don't want to chase wins, but you want to give yourself a chance.
I agree on Jobe. Sorry, I was gonna let you just keep running through them.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know how Meyer does it, so
no, you're good. I like to interrupt him when I want to, but otherwise I just let him cook in this section.
Gotcha. Okay. I was do you want to talk more about Jobe? So on Wednesday, I've got Mikolas versus Kansas City. I think Kansas City is a very targetable offense. And I don't know what Mikolas is doing. But he's kind of just hanging in there doing little things. And again, with Kansas City, and I think it's at home. And St. Louis has looked really good. So you're back to the win situation. He tends to go deep in games. So I am fine rolling him against the Royals on Wednesday. Thursday was the mess this week. I didn't like a lot of options. So Tony Gonsolin has, come back down to earth. He gets the Mets at home. The Mets right now they seem like a little bit of a mess. Soto, they're kind of Soto and Lindor, everyone's sort of underperforming. The rest of the lineup needs to kick it into gear. So I am not a fan of this, but if I had to stream someone, I would go Gonsolin against the Mets at home. So you do with that what you will, but please don't blame me if he blows up. Okay. Friday was a little bit easier. Zack Littel versus Miami. The only problem is it's in Tampa's little, ballpark. So if the wind's blowing out, I wouldn't do this. But I think Miami's, again, another offense, right? That you're just kind of like, I'll target this, see what happens. And Littell's he's been all right depending on who he's facing. So I see him as a pretty strong streamer. Saturday, I've got the Cubs are visiting Detroit, and Jameson Taillon versus the Tigers. Again, not my favorite. Like, the part of the problem with the streamers is like you're just throwing a dart and hoping that the matchup works out in your favor. But Taillon's been okay of late, so I'm not as scared of that. I was just gonna look up. Sorry, I thought I wrote it down, but yeah. So I mean, he's got a 3.86 ERA, but he's only got a 103 WHIP. So he is pretty good on the ratios, and the Tigers have a great offense, but it's also like that ballpark is pretty friendly to pitchers. So I would roll with him. And then
I'll interrupt there and say that Ben Brown, the last time I streamed it for 2 starts last week, very nearly lost me the week. So I'm a little burned by the Cubs pitching streaming options.
Well, I would go with the veteran on this one versus, I dropped him. I dropped Brown in our league, and then he started off that first start with he was on fire, struck out 3 or 4 guys in the first 2 innings, and then blew up. Because at that point I was just right, I just can't make any correct decisions. But then I felt better about it later. And then on Sunday, this one, is the battle of ineptitude, but I like Shane Smith for the White Sox, and he's facing the Royals at home. So, same rules. I wouldn't stream him if the wind is blowing out too hard. If they call up Caglione, I absolutely would probably hold off. But I like Shane Smith as a pitcher in general. So that is my streaming week.
I know you like Shane Smith. You picked him for me in my stead for our 2-start pitcher competition a few weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Shane Smith against Zack Wheeler. Who would have thought Meyer would win that week?
Did he actually make both his starts?
I think he did. I think he combined in our scoring format in the league that we're in that I use just as a kind of, if these points are very different, then it's easy to track. As opposed to when they're really close and you kind of get into who actually won this week. But in that week, in his 2 starts, he combined for 15.8 points, and Zack Wheeler combined for 46.5 points that week. So.
Yeah, that was kind of one of those, I didn't want to burn a good pitcher for you, so I was like, I'll just throw this one out there and you can
I think you made a better pick for Meyer this week than you did with Shane Smith for me, so I am taking that personally, I will just say.
Well, or you could see it as I wanted to pick Wheeler. But so that was a little bit of a problem the first time. But for my competition, and I don't want to give Meyer anything, but Joe Ryan for the Twins, like I've been talking about, he's looked fantastic lately. I'm not super confident, so I mean I might still screw Meyer over here, but he gets the Athletics in Sacramento, and then he gets to host the Blue Jays. So I feel like that's it's always a little dangerous with the Athletics in that ballpark. But he's been on a roll enough that I feel like he's a good 2-start pitcher this week.
I went for Carlos Rodon. Not somebody that I have a lot of, but he's been pitching really well as of late. And obviously, the strikeout potential with him is always there. Pitching for a good team, get some wins. He gets home against the Guardians and home against the currently struggling Red Sox. We'll see maybe if they call up Anthony, that'll look a little bit different. But he's also somebody that, fair or not, it's just hard for me to not think of him as an injury risk. And so I kind of want to use him early. There were a couple of options this week. So some weeks we've had, it's been really tough. The last 2 weeks we've actually both kind of had a lot of options. I'm annoyed because I finally went with DeGrom last week, and I've been so anti-DeGrom all year. And he had, the first start this week was not his best. So we'll see how that finishes up. By the way, so the last completed week, I forgot to update people on, was Meyer had Framber Valdez. He got 35.8 points. I had Tariq Skubal, who had his insane 13 strikeout Maddox, which
Yes.
that alone, like I didn't even need to look at the other outing. Like that was a win for me.
I don't know how you get 13 strikeouts and a Maddox. That's just crazy.
Best start of the season by any pitcher. Like, I just can't. Short of a no-hitter, I can't imagine a pitcher having a better start than that. So that one I had to burn Scooble to get it, but if you're gonna use him, that's the type of start you want to get out of him. So Meyer is currently head in the standings through 7 completed weeks, 4-3. We'll see if I can start to catch up here. We kind of did the reverse last year. I used a lot of the good pitchers early, and he saved them. This year, it's been kind of the opposite approach. So I've used some good ones, right? Like I've used Hunter Brown already, and Michael King. It's not like I'm using Shane Smith every week, but
I wanted to get creative.
Listen, I tried to pick Hunter Green the next week, and that was the week he was hurt, so I had to pivot to Shane Baz. So I went Shane's back-to-back week, and let me tell you, I didn't win either week.
That doesn't usually work out well, no.
No. Let's wrap up with some weekend excitement here. I wrote down just a few things. There wasn't like a ton of highlights. Obviously, Yankees Dodgers is going to be the big series, as it always is. But with both teams being good, that's obviously a huge one. Garrett Crochet versus Spencer Strider could be a really fun pitching duel. And then I wrote down, like, how does Scooble follow up his 13 strikeout Maddox? Again, like, it was the most strikeouts in a Maddox ever. By the way, for those who just happen to not know, I think if you're listening to the show, you probably know. But if you don't, a Maddox is a complete game with under 100 pitches. Yep. And Scooble did that with 13 strikeouts, which is the most ever in a Maddox. So extremely impressive. I'm very excited to see how he follows that up. I only have him in one league this year. I wish I had him in more. But that dude is so good at pitching.
He is so good. I have him in my keeper league. I think I have him like it's single digit amount of money. So I mean it goes up every year, but like at this point I can have him probably for the next
I have in one
8
of my
years.
I have like a deep. It's not technically dynasty, but it's like you have 5 minor league spots and you keep like 14 a year. So it's like a very, very deep keeper league with a minor league element. And one guy in the league has Scooble for $1. It will go up eventually, but right now he has Scooble for $1, and I have Bobby Witt Jr. for $1. And we're always like arguing who has the better, like, best asset in the league.
That's fantastic. Yeah. For me this weekend, I also am interested in the Yankees Dodgers. The Cubs host the Reds. They got into it a little bit last week when they visited Cincinnati. Ian Happ is a Reds killer. So I'm looking forward to that. Right now, I'm an Oilers fan as well, so I'm a little into the hockey playoffs. I do a live stream Tuesdays and Fridays for betting on that. They could wrap it up tonight and get ready for the Stanley Cup Finals. And then I'm also in charge of the WNBA prop bet cheat sheet. So my attention is split, but I'm enjoying that season as well. So yeah, that's kind of the weekend, and I'll probably go out on a pontoon ride if we're getting real specific.
Nice. No, I love that. Mayor likes to. I usually don't, but Mayor likes to include like real life, like whatever fun stuff is going on too. So I encourage that. Yeah, we'll go ahead and wrap up there. Thank you again for filling in, not only for Mayor this week, but for me next week. We'll be getting a lot of Kelly Kirby next couple of weeks here. But for Kelly and for Mayor, I suppose, I'm Ryan Wormeli. Thanks everybody for tuning in. If you missed the earlier parts, please go check them out. But yeah, that was the cycle for this week. We'll see you again next time.